right, guys, welcome to our call, FFL Gladiators. Yeah, we didn't have a call last week, but we are having a call this week. So, welcome everybody. I just wanted to just have a quick call. Nothing really crazy. Just wanted to give you guys some updates. So everybody's got Ethos, and if you are using Ethos, it's a really, really good platform. Everybody should be contracted. If you guys need help, please reach out to Shelly, and she will get you contracted with Ethos. Okay. We have been using Ethos now. It's nice for clients who don't want to give their information or who just want to complete their information themselves on their own terms. So we've been testing some really cool ways of doing that. And once we get it all rolled out, I will show you guys what that looks like in a couple of weeks. But all I just wanted to do is just touch base on the basics, okay? I think when coming from the car business, when we need to just realign ourselves, check and see what's going on. Sometimes there's too much noise, there's too much just things going on in our lives, in the business, and all these things, and it makes you forget kind of what made you successful in the first place, right? So what I want to just want to go back to is just touch base on what made you successful to where you guys are today. Most of you guys have been in this industry now for over a year, okay? And so just start thinking about what made you successful when you started. Right? This business has a learning curve that's really, really steep. And so the faster you fail, as you guys know, the faster you're going to get over that curve. And in my opinion, the way I did it was, man, I just broke everything there was. Okay? That's how I learned quickly. That's how I made mistakes, and that's how I got to where I needed to be to make my sale, to make my quota, to make whatever it is I needed to make. And so when I tell you go look and look at the basics, it's getting leads and calling them. Okay. I know we have this platform for texting and all these different things, right? But if you're really kind of struggling on that aspect of it, just kind of stop it and just go back to the basics, right? Call them, make appointments, go see them, or do it over the phone, right? So that's kind of the basics of the business. There's really nothing complicated to it. Okay. What you need to keep track of, this is kind of where it starts getting a little bit more intricate, is okay, I'm doing what I needed to do and I am making a profit. Okay. So if you spent $4,000 and you deposited $6,000, that is a net profit of 2 grand, right? So you are doing good. Once you start losing money, then that's not good. But if you are making money, you are doing good. You might not think you're doing good because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not making $1 million, right? Well, that's not the point here. The point is that you know how to do the business and you're being profitable, right? So now the next step for you as an agent would be, okay, if I'm spending four and I'm depositing eight, well, what happens if I spend six? Am I going to double my profitability, right? So that's where you start looking at it from a business standpoint. And of course, those numbers, there's about a 30 to 90-day delay to really look at your business to see what's kind of happening, right? And that's kind of what I do. I try to look at my business from a 30-day to a week to a 90-day to a year to really understand what I am doing as an agent, as a business owner, right? All of us are business owners, agent, independent contractors. We just work together to see, hey, you might have a better idea, or we're going to be working off of each other, motivating each other, right? It's a team sport, but yet again, you are pretty much in it by yourself, right? But we're all kind of working at on the same goal, is to provide for our family and to be profitable and also to get better at this business, right? And so doing this, I know my first year I looked at it like, man, I struggled, even though I was still profitable, but it just felt like it felt like I was hitting my head against the wall, right? But when I looked at it from a full year, yeah, I made money. Now, did I make money compared to the three, $400,000 people that were doing it that I was looking on stage and stuff? No, I didn't. But then again, they were doing it a lot longer than I have. So I needed to just look at where I was and look at it where I am from a business standpoint and from a skill set too. So you get better as you go on. And sometimes you might take some hard rights or hard lefts and you're like, "Oh my God, I shouldn't have done that." And that's okay. But you also have to go back to the basics and say, "Okay, well that didn't work out. I'm not going to keep doing that. I'm just going to keep doing what has worked," right? You make phone calls, you get some leads, and you get back on track. When you start having money, when you start putting away some money, then you can start kind of venturing off and trying different things. But don't go away from what actually works and what has worked for you. I know I was talking to Brian and he's like, man, this whole remote thing is kind of struggling for me. I'm just going to go see people. Perfect. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You go out there and that's what you know, right? And so get back to what you know, build up your bank account, and then you can start getting back to, okay, maybe I can do this hybrid and get better at doing this remotely, right? So again, it's just being able to do it for a longer period of time, right? So go and look what works for you from a basic standpoint. When I started at FFL by myself, I was I didn't have anybody here to have a Zoom call. I just started calling people and asked them, "Hey, are you interested or not?" And I just started spending a lot more on leads because I needed to make cash flow. I needed to see that when I moved over, you know, the high comps. I was like, I needed to make sure that these high comps are legit and not just some kind of gimmick. So all I did was I just started running business by myself, and it worked. I stick with the basics. I called, I made appointments, I gave the quotes. Some people said yes, some people said no. I got a lot more no's than I did yeses, but that's part of the business. So again, go back to the basics. I promise you, do not deviate from it. Have a good attitude and just realign yourself. Whatever happened 6 months ago happened, right? And so you just want to look at it from a standpoint of, okay, this is fresh, new beginning, new month, new day, okay? And I'm just going to treat it like I treated it when I started this business, right? You were excited, you're like, okay, I know what I need to do. I need to make some calls. I need to make some appointments. I got to run the appointment. Somebody will not show, somebody will show. And then by the end of the day, whatever happens, happens. Okay. But you have put in your work and you have put in what you needed to put in to get there. And you keep doing that over and over and over again. Guess what? You will have the same results when you were successful in the beginning. Okay. So go back to the basics. The other thing I do wanted to kind of touch on is remote versus um, going in home. Okay. As you guys know, COVID has kind of slowed down a little bit. And in home, if you guys are going in home, it is a lot easier. I had a gentleman, his name was Toby, and you know, bless his heart. When he started here, I really, you know, he's gonna see this video, but regardless, I really didn't think he was gonna make it. Right? I'm like, there's no way this guy's gonna do it. Well, he ended up just buying some leads, and he's like, hey, I just made some appointments, and I'm gonna call you when I get to their house. I was like, perfect. Yeah, call me when you get to the house. The guy sat there, and this lady just said, yes, I want coverage, and I got on the phone. He was kind of struggling, and I pretty much asked. I got on the phone with the lady and I said, okay, well, what do you want? And she's like, well, I want to get some $10,000 coverage. I was like, okay, perfect. You have a budget in mind. She had a budget in mind. So we kept it simple, right? We didn't try to confuse all these different living benefits and cash back option. The lady just wanted some coverage. And I just told her, okay, well, let's figure out. And I did it all over the phone. He saw what I did and he said, I can't believe how simple it is. And I think what we tend to do as agents, as we're doing this, or as we're watching all these podcasts, we tend to make it overcomplicated, right? It's life insurance. All these different bells and whistles and all these different things just confuses people, right? It's basics. Somebody dies, somebody gets money to pay for the funeral, or somebody dies, somebody gets money to pay for the home, right? It's all the same thing. And so don't confuse the actual what it actually does. Okay. And if you're very confused when you're talking to a client, just ask them, okay, what do you want? Right? It's a very simple question, but it's very powerful for the consumer to look at you like, well, I want to cover my family with XYZ policy or XYZ amount. Okay, well, how much do you want? And then they'll tell you. All right. Well, and then that's where you kind of look and try to figure out, is that even possible? And you try to use your judgment as an agent. Well, listen, you're 55 years old. You're not going to get $1 million for $24 a month, right? That's not going to happen. And right, you got to let them know, listen, it's not going to happen. Okay. I don't care where you're going to go. And if they are consistent about, well, that's what I'm going to get, well, pigs want to fly too, but it's not going to happen. So you're just going to have to be honest with people. Um, and so don't overcomplicate it. I promise you, just ask them, okay, what are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to do? What are you trying to get? Like those are good questions to start and listen, right? The less you talk, the better off you are, especially in an appointment over the phone or in-house. But in-house, it is a lot easier because you get to look at them and you get to really understand what they're trying to do. And as long as when you're going in the house, as long as you smile and ask them what they want to do, and you don't smell, okay, you're gonna get a sale, right? It is what it is. I had some agents where they just in the past they smelled horrible, right? We had to teach them to get some deodorant, but that's nowhere nor here nor there. But what I'm trying to say is in home is a lot easier. So if you're struggling on the phone, it is okay to go to the house, right? That's why we're mailing out in your areas. So just in case you can't get a hold of them, you can actually go to their house. Um, Doing it remote. The nice thing about doing this remotely is, of course, you get to be home. But the cons to it is you have to spend more money on leads. You have to spend more time on the phones, okay? And you're going to get a lot more no-shows. So the people that decided they want to make appointment with you that morning for that day, they might have had a bad day at work. They just don't want to talk to anybody, or they're running late, or they just got home and they're eating dinner when you're calling them. And so you will have about 50% no-shows. If you're new at this, you're probably going to get more. And so just be prepared for them. You can call them and follow up with them and text them, but 50% is going to be the norm. When you go in the home, you're going to get somewhere between 20 to 30% no shows, right? That's kind of the average. You might have a little less if you call them that day and you make appointment for that evening. Um, and I remember a lot of times when I went to the house, I literally, if they're not home, I would wait 15, 20 minutes outside and see if they got home or not, right? Or I would text them. I'm like, hey, I'm here. Looks like you're not home. I'll wait another 15 minutes, right? You can wait for them to get home and then help them out. And they'll call you back and say, oh, it's running late. I had to step away, right? So your no-show ratio is going to be a lot less. So your appointment ratio will go up, and then you will have a lot more closing ratios. 50% is about the average in-home sales. So if you're sitting there and you have 50% sit down ratio and you do an appointment and you ask them, hey, what do you want to do? You give them numbers, you will have about a 50% application rate. Over the phone, it's a little bit less. You will have 50% no-shows, and you will have somewhere between 30 to 40% application rate, right? Just doing it remotely. Again, everything works. You just have to play the numbers. So if you want to do it remotely, you're going to have to spend a little bit more money. If you want to do it in home, you're going to have to drive and go to people's homes and be out there and spend gas money, right? So again, there is a trade-off for every single way you're going to do it. The whole remote thing, when we started it, it worked just fine in the beginning, but then everybody started kind of getting into it, and that kind of balanced out the numbers. In the beginning, we didn't have that many no shows because it was COVID and everybody was home. Once everybody started going back to the house, back to work, it kind of balanced out the scales from in home to face, and remote. Okay, so that's kind of where everything is now. So you really have to play the numbers. If you're starting to do this remote now, you really have to have some good capital, right? Or a good amount of leads. If you want to do it face to face, you probably get some applications sooner, because you don't need as many leads to start off with. All right. So that's kind of the difference between going to people's homes and remote. Some people like remote, and that's fine. There is a high learning curve. You're just gonna have to run a lot more appointments, and you're just gonna have to do a lot more mistakes, and you're gonna get a lot more no's. Okay. And then the third thing I definitely wanted to touch on is leads. Okay. So the more you spend on leads, the more profitable you will be. That is just the basic math. Marketing campaigns. That's what leads are. You're spending money on marketing. Biggest, like for example, let's say McDonald's or Walmart or any kind of business, their biggest expense is marketing. That's where most of their funds go to because they need to attract clients. And so if you see businesses spending millions and millions of dollars to attract people, right? There's not going to be anything different. I'm not saying you're going to spend millions of dollars, but what I'm trying to say is your biggest expense is going to be your marketing expense. That's going to be your leads. The more you spend, the more people you will attract to your business to buy. That's just the number that's just how it works. So if you're spending $4,000 or $5,000 a month and you're depositing 10,000, that means you have a $5,000 profit margin. So you still got your $5,000 and you got your another $5,000. So now, you're back to square one with the 5,000, then you got another 5,000. So that means you had 100% profitability. Now that does might not seem much, but that's a lot. Most businesses are trying to run on a 30% profit margins, right? So if you spend $1,000, the profit margin people are looking for is $1,300. That's where people are looking to have a profit margin. 30% in an industry, any business is outstanding. But in our industry, if you think about it, I think in our industry in life insurance, the way we have set up, it's probably the biggest profit margins that you can get anywhere as a business owner. So if you're spending $5,000 and you're making 10 grand, that's 100% profit margin. That is crazy high, right? Well, guess what? If you spend 10 grand, the profit margins for an agent triples. So now you don't just go to 5,000, you actually go to 20 to $25,000 in deposits, right? That's if you're, spending 10 grand. I mean, that's a lot of leads, especially with us. But if that's what you're spending and you're depositing 15,000, right? That means you got your 10 grand back and you deposited 15 grand. That's 300% profit margins. Okay. 20, well, 200 to 250% profit margins. Those are really, really high margins. Okay. Now, if you get, for example, let's say you get 100 leads and you get 80 people of them say no. Great. 80 people said no. No big deal. But you get 20 people say yes and you get 5 apps for a profit margin of 5,000. Who cares for the 80 people, right? Who cares if the 80 people said no? It doesn't really matter. Even if 200 people said no, it doesn't matter. Your profit margins are still 5,000, right? If you spent 5 grand and you had 200 people and you had 100 people say no, and you still wrote 10 apps, does it really matter to you, right? So what we do as agents, what we start kind of fixating ourselves is all the people that say no. and it starts getting to us. It starts getting into your head. It starts getting to the point where you're like, oh, this doesn't work. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I understand. Getting told 100 times no is tough, right? But being able to take your mind and shift it and know that there's only going to be about 5 to 10 people that are just going to buy, that's where you kind of really don't care about those 100 people that say no. They're going to say no no matter what. Even if you told them it's free, guess what? They're going to tell you no because they're not going to buy. It's just not going to happen. And as you guys know, my philosophy, if God hasn't put it in their hearts to take care of the family, there's nothing I can say to change their mind. Nothing at all. Okay. And so you can try to beat the dead horse even further, but it's not. All you're doing is you're just wasting your time. So what you need to be doing is focusing on those 5 to 10 people that are truly interested, because we do generate a lot of leads, but with a lot of leads, guess what? You're going to get a lot of no's, and you're going to get a good amount of yeses as well. And that's just the numbers. That there's nothing you can do. And so don't worry about the no's, and don't worry about the people that say yes either, right? Because sometimes they say yes and they don't even know what they're saying yes to. People are crazy, and you guys know this, and we all know people are crazy. And that's the industry we're in, right? You have to be a little crazy to even be an agent, okay? That's just the reality of it. So don't worry about the negatives. Just look at the positives. You got 10 people that are going to buy, and you know that. And so if your mind is already negative and you're just already thinking nothing works, well, when you're talking to that one that really wants it, you're going to talk yourself out of a sale. You're already you're already just thinking that this person is just like every other one. And so don't do that. Just focus that this person is going to buy and they're going to buy, right? Because that's what they're going to do anyway. Sometimes the numbers work and sometimes they don't, and that's okay. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that you know that there's going to be a handful of people that are going to buy from those 100 leads that you're going to get. And so just find them as quickly as you can, and look at your profit margins. That's what the business is. It's not about trying to sell every single lead that you get. That's not what the point is. The point is to be able to help the people that want to be helped, not try to sell 100 leads. You got 100 leads, that's great, but you're not going to sell all of them. And so what you need to focus on is just go through the minutia of the people that don't want it, move it aside, and then you have the ones that really want it, and now focus on them. Don't worry about them. The no's, that's okay. That they're designed to say no. That's what the system does. And the more no's you get, the quicker you're going to get to a yes, right? I love the book, right? Go for the no. If you guys get a chance to read a book, pick it up. It's 5, $6 on Amazon. It's probably the best book I've ever read. Go for the no. It is so liberating and refreshing that it just tells you, hey, just go for the no. Guess what? You're gonna mess up and somebody's gonna say yes. That's how it happens, right? And the more you do it, the more yeses you'll get. Now, the yeses doesn't necessarily mean that their checks are open and they say, "Oh, here's $100,000, right? And I'll buy whatever." It just means that they're willing to have a conversation to see if they're qualified. And a lot of those yeses are clients that are in their 60s, clients that are very sick, clients that are 70 and they think that they can get $100,000 policy for $13 a month or something like that, right? So a lot of clients are not as educated as you are because you're the agent. And you got to get through that some of those people are not going to buy anything even if they are interested or not going to go qualify. And then you have to find the ones that are truly interested and they're going to buy, right? The quicker you are able to get through those no's and through those people that do want it but not going to qualify, and the quicker you can get the ones that are yeses, that's a skill that takes time to perfect. It took me a long time, right? Every single day I was like, man, how can I get quicker through all these people that really don't want it, right? That's when the auto dialer came into play. And then we started asking the question of, okay, well, how can I get quicker to, get people to say yes to me? And that's where the texting came into play, right? And voicemails and campaigns. And so we're always going to adapt, but it's not going to take away from what I told you guys earlier, the basics of this business, calling people, asking them if they're interested, helping them out, right? So that's not going to go away. If you started this industry and you made 200 phone calls, a day, and you need to make money, go back to making 200 phone calls a day, right? That's kind of the what we need to do. And don't just rely on the system itself. There's still a human element that needs to be a human touch that needs to happen. We have ethos. You can actually go online to all these companies, AIG, and just complete everything yourself. And there's going to be a percentage of people that are going to do that in the United States. But a majority, 90% of Americans need a human touch to it, a voice or a face to face, something to guide them to feel like they're doing the right thing. As much as I hate to say this, and as much as a lot of people don't agree, but it's a true statistic. People want to be sold because they want to feel like they're doing the right thing, right? They want to feel like, hey, I, I, I'm actually buying something and I feel good about it. They want to feel good about buying something, and they want to be sold. And so just just help them out and give them the best service you can for the people that truly want it. And you guys have been doing this for a while. You know who those people are. You can tell by their voice, you can tell by the conversation that these people are truly interested. When you sit down with them and you ask them, "Hey, well, who do you want to protect? Who do what do you want to happen to the house? What happens if you don't get coverages?" Right? Those deep questions that pretty much is a buying signal for you. So again, guys, nothing too crazy today. I just wanted to tell you, go back to what works for you. Don't listen to all the noise of, hey, you can do it this way, or you can do it that way, or this is like the newest thing, or IULs and all those different things. Just get some leads, help some families out, right? Don't get discouraged by the no's and just grind away and find the people that really want it as quick as you can. That's your goal. Don't get discouraged by the no's. The more no's you get, that means that you are doing the right thing, right? I wish I can have a scoreboard of how many no's people get. That would be a nice little scoreboard, right? It's like you're going to start getting people, writing more apps, but their no's are going to start going down or up, right? So I told you guys this before. I think the most I've ever gotten was 17 no's in a row before I on the phone before somebody said yes. And I have yet to break that streak. And every time I get close, somebody says yes, and I'm like, oh man, now I got to start over again, right? And so it, it just happens. So again, just stick with the basics, guys. I promise you, have a good attitude. Go through the learning curve of this business, of seeing if you're profitable. Be smart with your money that you get in. Always have a cushion for leads. Don't go out there and blowing it, right? That's what the business owner does. Smart managing. Try to have two accounts if you can, because even though you're treating this like you're an employee, you also need to treat it and run it as a business. And you always got to have money to run your business. People are not just going to come to you. Maybe they will. I'm not sure. But statistically speaking, nobody's going to tap you on the shoulder on the street, say, hey, I want to buy life insurance from you. It doesn't happen, right? If it does, then I would be scared. But just run it basic. Don't overcomplicate it. We definitely do tend to overcomplicate things. And if you're stressed, if you are like, I don't know what to do, just stop with everything that's going on and just go back to the basics, right? This is what works, A, B, and C. And just keep doing that until you're able to kind of venture out and try different things, right? My opinion is if you want to try different things, make sure you have enough money in the bank account to go and try different things. Because when you try to try new things, there's a learning curve. And that learning curve usually costs money. So make sure you have enough money in the bank to pay for that learning curve, whatever you guys are trying. And if it doesn't work out, go back to your basics because that's what got you the nice bank account in the first place. Because at the end of the day, if you don't have money to help other clients, you got to help yourself first in order to help other clients, right? If you don't have money, you can't help other clients, and the that's just kind of the business aspect of it, right? Um, yeah, handle your requirements, handle your business, be smart. If you have questions on how to run a business or how to run P&Ls and profitability statements and stuff like that, reach out to me. I'll send you some of my stuff that I have that I run on a daily basis. Hey, here's how much goes out, here's how much comes in, here's how much is supposed to come in, here's how much I'm spending, etc., and stuff like that. You got to be able to see it, and sometimes we're scared to look at it because it might point out some of our flaws. So don't be scared. It will liberate you, I promise. Guys, thank you so much and stick around. I will be making some calls. And if you guys want to listen, you have some questions, let me know. Thank you.